I'd like to talk to you a little more today about atheism, a subject that I've approached before in some of these videos, and I'd like to respond in a general kind of way to a lot of comments that have been made. I've allowed the comments for a while, and then after a while they get tedious, they get voluminous, and they get personal. So I've eliminated the option for comments as a result of those things, even though it's something that I like doing. I think it's fun. I mean, it's fun to do things that you're good at. It's fun to do things that you're successful at. But I just simply don't have the time. I've had people just send me in the neighborhood of a couple of dozen responses in a day. Multiply that out and I'm sorry. I don't have the time. This is not my life. I can see that these responses, however, are, number one, they're passionate. Number two, they're very personal. I can see that I've struck a chord there, that atheism is not a rational type of existential belief system, but that it goes to the core of who a person is, and it reveals some things that they're very, very sensitive about in terms of that identity. I can't help that. Is it a serious subject? Yes. But I can't help the fact that people take it personally to the extent that they do, to the point where their responses are so often ad hominem and so often irrational, and that no matter what I say in terms of my response, it's just doesn't matter. So that's why responding is not always a good idea for me. However, it is one of the reasons I'm making this video. And a lot of these responses tend to get pretty whiny also. And I don't have a lot of patience for that kind of thing. First of all, let me explain to you something about atheism that you'll have to agree with. I don't know how you could not agree with it. I suppose you'll try. But atheism, as I've said before, presupposes all knowledge. You can't say you know what's not out there unless you know everything that's out there, and you don't. And I don't either. What this does is, this denies the perception of others. You're telling me what I have experienced and what is real to me is not real because it's never become real to you. Well, that's a pretty flimsy argument. I saw a creature one time at the bottom of the ocean in 270 feet of water off a diamond rock in Martinique. It was a ray that was beyond what I thought they were supposed to grow to. I mean, it was just sucking fish out of a fish trap that was 14 feet in diameter, and its wings were hanging over both sides. And now when I've told other people about that, I've had people tell me, oh no, you didn't see that. They don't get that big. Well, okay, just have at it, but I know what I saw. And the same thing holds true with respect to God. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ that is more real than what I could express to you if I had the vocabulary of a Shakespeare and the intellect of an Einstein, which I don't. You probably know that by now. But I can't express the reality of that. But neither will I let you tell me that my perception is not a reality, that my experiences are not a reality. You can't legitimately do that. All you can say is, I have not seen what you've seen. I have not experienced what you've experienced. And I would respect that, and we could go from there. But that's not the premise of the responses and the comments that I'm getting. One of the problems with atheism is this. What atheism says is, there is no morality higher than my own personally imposed morality. In other words, the moral high ground is wherever I'm sitting at that time. Well, I'm going to be reluctant to enter into any kind of personal relationship with a person like that, a marriage, a business, because they're the ones that are going to make up the rules as they go along. And if you try to impose rules from a higher perspective, they're going to say, that doesn't apply because I don't share your belief system. So that's a difficult situation to be in. It's a little too fluid. It's a little too flexible. It's like playing a game of football without defining the goal line and the boundaries. If somebody says you went out of bounds, you say, no, I didn't. And if you say I scored a touchdown and they say, no, you didn't cross the goal line, I don't believe in goal lines. Try telling a cop when you get pulled over doing 85 and a 50 that you don't believe in speed limits. You see, there's a reason for moral codes. There's a reason for what's called the Judeo-Christian ethic. And that is because a society structured outside of a strong moral code is not a strong society, morally, ethically. James Madison talked about that. He talked about the fundamental relationship between Christianity and morality. And an atheist denies that. Well, that means that I don't trust an atheist. Now, some of you have said, well, you're insulting me. You're saying you don't trust me. You know, I just explained to you why I don't trust you. It's not personal, but what you're saying is you want to reserve the right to define morality as you go along. My response is, I don't believe a person like that is a person of strong moral character or a person that I'm personally going to trust. Some people have threatened to go to YouTube and have me banned because I've insulted them. Well, you need to quit your whining. You know, if you can't stand people who are going to say things like that, then, you know, go away. Go away. But in the real world, you don't have the right not to be offended. And there's some things that I'm going to say that are going to offend you all day long. You better get over it, because you're not going to deny me my right to do that. If you say things that offend me, that's okay. I'll evaluate them, and I'll give them the time and the perspective and the attention that they deserve. For the most part, not all of them, but most of them have not deserved a whole lot in that area. So there you go. That's what my response is to the atheists that have responded over and over again, hundreds and hundreds of times, to the point where it's become a real nuisance. I don't have 3, 4, 5 hours a day to respond to your comments, when most of them are personally demeaning. Most of them are insistent upon the fact that you're going to tell me whether what I've experienced or not is real. My position again is you don't have the right to do that. And then when it comes right down to it, and I like to close with this type of thought that I'd like to leave you with, because in the end, I'd like my conversations with you to be constructive, at least from a spiritual point of view. The Bible is the record of what Christians and Jews believe. The Bible is the moral code that we try to follow. Are we imperfect at it? You better believe we're imperfect at it. But don't judge that code on the basis of its human expression. Okay? That's what people do in the process of dismissing God. I'd submit to you that that's not just either, but that's okay. You're entitled to do that, because I think you have a need to dismiss God. As Jesus said, men love darkness rather than light because their deeds were evil. So there we go. This is just a roundabout way to respond, to tell you what the Christian view of atheism is, to tell you what I personally believe about atheists. Some can be sincere. Some can be pre-spiritual instead of aspiritual or anti-spiritual. I don't pretend to know which ones those are. So just a few thoughts on atheism. I'm Jerry Kaifetz.